Have you ever wondered what it's really like living in Indonesia? I know I've never been there and I don't know too much about it, but today we're going to interview Kate, who has been living there for quite some time. She's kind of a local by now. We will find out through 5 quick questions what it's like from her point of view living there. And I wanted to introduce my channel. This is my first interview for Living There, my new channel. And thank you so much for dropping by and watching this interview. I also wanted to put a call out to anyone who's interested in being interviewed for Living There. Just shoot me an email. My email address is in the description below. And just, say I'm maybe interested or I'm curious about this. And I will email you back with the details. It's just basically the same 5 questions that Kate's going to answer, quick and easy, but it'll give us an idea about what it's like to live where you do, about living there. What first brought you to your location, your city, your state, your area of the world, and what made you stay?
Hi, I'm Kate, and I recently got a request from Peggy at Living There Peg to answer some questions about my life here in Indonesia. I live in Indonesia, and so I have printed out her questions, and I'm going to read them off and answer them for you. So her first question: what first brought you to Indonesia and what made you decide to stay? Well, that's quite a long, complicated story, but I think I can make it short enough. I was in graduate school studying to become a psychologist. I was in a doctoral program, and I started to think, oh my God, I'm going to have to stay in one place the rest of my life once I set up a practice. And that just scared me. I didn't like that idea of staying in one place. I was a bit of a traveler and so forth. And just in the middle of final exams, in my second or third year, I don't remember now which, I came across an advertisement in the Chicago Tribune where I lived about a job in Indonesia. Didn't say too much about what the job was, but it was something about computers, and I was computer literate at that time. It was 1982, and I was fortunate to have already learned how to operate some certain kinds of computers. So I put my resume in and got an interview, and it was only 3 months. So, oh great, I can go there. They offered me the job, yeah. So I can go there for 3 months and come back and finish my doctoral program. And I took a leave of absence from school and never came back. And I've been here pretty much ever since December 1982. What made me stay? Well, I did fall in love with an Indonesian man eventually, not right away, and got married, got divorced. And I always felt like when we were having marital problems, I thought, I'm going to go back to the States if this marriage doesn't work out. And but I'd already been there like 8 years or 9 years at that point, and I felt like Indonesia was home. And so when the marriage did break up, I was ready to just stay there, and I did. And I'm glad I did. So I've been here almost 43 years now at this point, and I love it. You can actually see a lot of videos I've made about Indonesia on my channel, Kate Gypsy.
What's something that you love about living there? It could be something you feel is special or underrated.
So question number 2 is, what's something that I love about living in Indonesia Something that's really special or underrated. Well, one of the things, I've got a couple things that I made some notes about here. One of the things is, Indonesians love to be photographed. When you're a tourist, and I've traveled lots of places in the world, and so many places where you go and you want to take a photo of someone, they put their hands up right away and they don't want to be photoed. And here, Indonesians just love having their photos taken. And even before there were digital cameras, and you just took a regular photo on an old style camera, they would thank you for it afterwards, knowing that they would never see that photo, but they thanked you for taking their photo. Now, of course, with the digital camera or digital iPhone or smartphones, you can just show them what you took, and they might say, please send it to me. So you can send it to them from your smartphone to their smartphone. It's very simple. So anyhow, that surprised me, and I really liked it too. So something else that I found really special that kind of reminded me of my very young days when I lived in Chicago, and we had some street sellers in Chicago at that time when I was a little kid. We're talking in the 50s and 1950s, and the knife sharpeners and there were certain kinds of street sellers in Chicago. It reminded me of that. But when I lived in Jakarta, we had street sellers. Once you got all your major appliances in your house, you never had to leave your house again if you didn't want to. They had street sellers selling all kinds of food and brooms and prepared food and vegetables. So not prepared food and prepared food. It was wonderful. I loved it. And every morning I used to get a certain bubur ayam, rice porridge, from a street seller before I went to work. So that was kind of fun.
What's the hardest or most surprising thing about living there?
The next question, number 3, was, what's the hardest or more surprising thing about living in Indonesia? Well, hardest, that's kind of hard. I'm going to go with most surprising thing about living in Indonesia. And this was kind of hard too, actually, when I think about it. People ask you the same question over and over and over. A friend might ask you, well, let's go out to dinner tonight. You want to do that? Yeah, okay, sure. And then they say, well, what kind of food do you want? And so you tell them. And then a little bit later, they ask you again, well, what kind of food do you want? And I would respond again, usually Chinese or something. So let's say Chinese for this example. And so then a little bit later, they'd ask you again, what kind of food do you want? And I'd say Chinese. By the 5th time asking me the same question and me giving the same answer, Chinese, I want Chinese food, I would say, I said Chinese the first time, the second, the third, and I'm going to tell you Chinese food every single time. But it's part of the culture here that when they ask you something, you might not tell them what you're really feeling deep inside right off the bat. And so they need to ask you a second or third time, fourth time, to get down to the real answer. So that was hard. It was surprising and hard. So something else that was surprising, not hard, but I noticed that Indonesian wives never correct their husbands. I'm thinking now of Indonesian women who were married to foreign men, like US men, American men, or Dutch men, or whatever. And I found that they never corrected their husband when the husband said something in Indonesian wrong. Or, let's say, I remember one person, Indonesian woman, who would ask her husband, what kind of curtains? Give him a couple of samples, and he would pick what he liked. And then she would go and do what she wanted anyhow. And I talked to another Indonesian woman about this, and she said, oh yeah, that's what we do. We We give them the respect of asking their opinion, but we're going to do what we want anyhow. So that was surprising to me. And actually something that I could have learned earlier. Might be still married if I'd learned that earlier.
Would you share one monthly expense with us? It could be your water bill or groceries or the internet, whatever you feel like sharing.
Then would you share, this is the fourth question, Peggy's fourth question. Would you share one monthly expense you have, water bill or whatever? And I made notes of a few things. Some things aren't all that surprisingly cheap. My electricity runs me probably about $90 a month. And my friend in California thinks that's outrageously expensive. But you know what? My rent was about, it's going up, let's put it that way. When I renew my lease, it's going up to about $150 a month. I have a pretty big house with a big terrace here and a big yard for my dogs to run around. So $150 a month is really very, very reasonable. And health insurance, that's another one that Americans will be very surprised about. My health insurance runs me $10 a month. That's the Indonesian government health insurance. And just to give you an example, I had cancer on one of my ears, and I had to have surgery, and I had to have radiation treatments, 25 radiation treatments. And so what did I have to pay for any of that? By the way, my care was very, very good, excellent, in fact. And what did I have to pay for that? Nothing, zero. Everything was paid for because the health insurance here doesn't have deductibles that you have to pay a certain amount out of your pocket first, no. And it doesn't, even if you had something before you took their health insurance, it doesn't matter.
If someone were thinking about moving there, what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
And then question number 5, if someone were thinking about moving there, what's one piece of advice I would give them? The advice I would give them would be to, if they're going to be expats, first of all, I would say meet up with some other expats because they're going to be a big help to you. Or find an Indonesian friend who seems to know everything. I had an Indonesian friend, Susie, who just knew everything here. So whenever I had a question or where to get someone to fix the roof on the house or whatever, that's an important thing. Having either an expat friend or an Indonesian friend who can help you answer all the questions you have about how to get along. Then the next thing, and this is probably even more important, don't make a judgment about whether you're happy there or not for quite a long time, because you're going to have to go through some culture shock. And it might take a while. So don't give up too quickly. Don't give up too quickly. But you know something? I just thought about another surprising thing that I want to tell you about. And that is that when you rent a place, like I'm renting this house, you are responsible for fixing everything. The landlord is not responsible unless it's maybe some major thing, I don't know. But I had the wiring completely redone here. You're responsible for all the little things that need to be fixed along the way, not the landlady or landlord. So anyhow, those are the answers to my 5 questions, and I hope you enjoyed that. Indonesia is a great place. It's a great place to live in, and I've been here almost 43 years now, and certainly I wouldn't have stayed this long if it wasn't a really wonderful place to be living. So thanks, and bye.
Thanks so much, Kate. I really enjoyed finding out more about Indonesia and what it's like living there. If any of you would like to be interviewed, please send me an email. It's in the description below. And let me know if you might like to learn more, and we'll go from there. It's these same easy 5 questions, and I just want to put out into the world what it's like living in different parts of the world. And of course, this is one person's perception of that, but it'll be real and genuine, and I think very helpful. If you liked this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel. It would help me out a lot, and I appreciate so much you being here. And I will see you next time.